Hondo and I are just sitting here in the shade. We got to a pretty freaky part of the trail that just flips me out. Yeah, and he started chasing around and slipping, and I started slipping, and oh God, no. So before I freaked all the way out and lost my whole entire mind, makes it difficult to get home if both of us are a mess or on the side of the mountain with broken bones and cracked brains. So I thought I would sit here, give him some water, give him a chance to chill out, definitely give myself a chance to chill out and be okay with knowing that we've come about 1.5 miles. And so about 1.5 miles to get back, that's plenty for him. He really shouldn't be doing a whole lot more than 2 or 3 miles anyway. Little young buck that he is, and I definitely shouldn't be stretching past the boundary of, you know, the height thing and the danger factor. You know, me by myself is one thing. I can navigate it in all kinds of different ways. However, having him on board, goofy and, you know, slightly doofy and, you know, a little bit willful and not understanding the danger, yeah, then that means I have to take on the responsibility for both of us. And as I was sitting down, I was listening to something and, you know, thinking, what is the lesson in this? What's the teaching? Because that's just my favorite thing in the world to do. Spirituality is a huge part of my life, and to try to deny that that isn't my passion is dumb. So let's just roll with it, you know, and look for ways that nature speaks to me and humans speak to me, animals speak to me, the natural world. How does it apply, and how much into the matrix can I take that? Because that's the joining of heaven and earth, you know. The matrix isn't going to pull into 5D or ascended consciousness. The matrix isn't doing that. The matrix is phasing out, and we're upgrading. You know, it's like saying that your Morse code is going to transition into 5G network. No, it already hasn't. That's why it's angry. That's why it's mad. That's why it's, you know, acting out and doing all kinds of outrageous things. It's trying to adapt itself to something where it's no longer adaptable. You know, if we weren't making the upgrades all the way and getting the newer technology, we fit in less and less and less. And that's why so many people are ticked off, jacked off, and like just in weird directions, being angry and feeling out of control, because, you know, we're not there anymore where we're in the slow consciousness of, yeah, you know, black people are bad, or girls are bad, or gay people, you know. We're really seeing a rebellion and an uprising of those people that were the ones who were the underdogs. And if you think about it from the biblical teachings of, you know, those that were last shall be first, etc. I mean, every legend, every story, every parable, every sacred text pretty much has those same concepts of the battle of good and evil kind of thing, and how those that were the oppressed shall rise again. It's the story of the phoenix. It's, you know, any of those stories, the hero's journey, upon which, you know, probably 95% or more of all of our stories are based upon, is the struggle of good and evil. That's it. And how evil can't prevail in a polarized earth experience. It doesn't. It never does. It might take it 100 years or 200 years or 1,000 years or maybe 2,000. However, it doesn't prevail. Water can turn into a major issue when it's flooding. However, it always seeks to balance. That is the natural order of nature, to seek balance in itself and of itself and for itself. Gravity is not partial. It doesn't work for one person and not the other, and it's non-discriminatory. If you know how to use the laws of aerodynamics and, you know, as pertains to gravity and how to fly, then go ahead and jump out of that building confident that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you know, you're angry and pissed off that gravity isn't accommodating bad logic or bad, you know, physics understandings or lack of physics understanding. It's being mad and railing at the system, and, you know, rail at the right system. It's the matrix that would tell you that you can actually jump out of a building and fly just because they sold you a $3,000 ticket, you know, and you watch somebody else seemingly do that. You know, no, that's not how it rolls. And all these different dynamics that we have where people have manipulated stories and they've manipulated timelines and, you know, whole entire understandings and misrepresented what that whole dynamic of good and evil is. We've turned things around where it's the upside down world, and those that are the most evil intended or the most, the darkest, the most, the most unevolved, the least, likely to really dig into their higher consciousness at all. Those are the people that are wanting to screech and scream and talk about the highest morals of the land, whatever land it is, USA notwithstanding, that it doesn't matter. We've got a lot of very, upside down people who are dictating. And if we don't have the ability to stand up on our own and really stand in our own position of, hey, I think I'll decide, we have a gyroscope within us to let us know what the right thing to do is. We don't technically need all of the sacred texts or, the Barney instruction. However, we're so far away from ever being taught that stuff of how to identify it within ourselves. We have our own gyroscope, every single one of us, regardless of how we identify that goodness and where it comes from, whether we call it God or not, or Shambhala, or whatever, the Garden of Eden, however we identify or start our stories or end our stories, and wherever it all began and ends for us as humans and the human race and all that's irrelevant. We all start as the same living, breathing organism. We're all constructed the same, we're all born the same, we all die, as in lose our life energy force the same. The method of how we do that is not the same. However, it's the same exit, the same entry, that we all are born and we all die. How many times around and all that is irrelevant to this understanding right at this moment. It's simply to understand that it is all the same. So we all come from that same cosmic understanding, and we all have that gyroscope that has been installed within us. It's when we don't get really good instruction about how to listen to it because we're too busy listening to all the beasts and monsters outside of us who didn't listen to theirs and had their understanding beaten down and shoved away and told that it was bad, that they quit listening to theirs decades, generations, etc. ago. And it sets up these like generational curses, generational understandings that, the whole bloodlines, whole entire family trees are working through dynamics of just, codependency and very toxic stuff, because no one in that is really listening to that gyroscope or feeling their way. They're in the matrix deep and thinking that the matrix is real and that they can somehow satisfy that gyroscope thing by taking themselves to a church or synagogue or mosque or, even the yoga studio or wherever, place that we like to say we go to balance ourselves and reach our divinity, our spiritual understanding. Even those people that are the atheists, I knew a dude that was pretty atheist. I don't believe in that stuff. That's stupid. Church is for passing the plate, throw in your $20 and you're good for the week. And even that person, I understood his logic. However, I couldn't appreciate his, sacrilege about there's got to be something sacred. And when I look back and went, yeah, there was something sacred to him. He was all about nature. He was all about appreciating the woods and things like that, and taught me a valuable lesson about that. And so, we all understand that there's something sacred in us. And when we have people that they don't understand that at all, they've had that so smushed out, crushed, and just denied of them, they really begin to believe that, and generation upon generation of that will net you the monsters that are some of our biggest world leaders who are making huge decisions for people and helping them to stay crushed and mushed and, certain that they're worth nothing. Hondo's busy trying to dig up the side of this little trail here. But those people, that's how those generational, I call them curses, whether it involved witches actually sitting around, doing stuff or not, doesn't matter. It's patterned into the genetic material of people after them to be predisposed to toxicity and to resonate with that more than they resonate with their own soul. Otherwise, they won't be able to fit in even slightly in their family dynamic. Their vibration will be so far off that it just couldn't possibly. So it has to adapt and be a lower vibe, even if, it all could be and really needs to be a higher vibe. Their soul, all that material, as it's creating the baby and those toxic juices, it will adapt to the lower vibe that it's being born into and still swirling in. And unless somebody really can help to light that up and ignite it and say, get a sniff of that, a taste of that, a whiff of that, and really go, oh, wait, hold on a second, awakening people, the woke stuff. I don't mean that necessarily. I mean like enlightened, as in sit under the Bodhi tree for a minute and get a clue about, is there more than the matrix here? I think I smell something besides a pile of doo-doo everywhere I go. Because people that are in very toxic relationships or toxic dynamics, they're digging deep into the matrix. If you look Many of those people, very judgy, cynical people, they're not terribly happy. They're truly not terribly happy. It doesn't matter how much money they have. It doesn't matter what they look like. And it doesn't matter how they present. Listen to the conversation. That's where I got hung up for a lot of years. When I listened to the conversation and started hearing how much judgment and snark and pinched up face there was towards other people, that's already an inherently unhappy soul. That what's the need to be sassy and snotty about someone else's life? If we're truly happy and we're, in our blissful spot, we don't care what other people are doing, not as their baseline. Someone hurting another person and causing harm and that kind of thing, that entirely turns into a different story. But I'm not talking about someone's life choices unless there's, physical harm being implemented on me, my finances, my spirit, my dogs, my cats, my life in some way, or I'm seeing someone, physically doing something weird to another out here in 3D, then it's none of my business what you're doing in your house, whether it's in your bedroom, your living room, who you're with and all of that. Unconsenting anybody's, then heck no. And I wouldn't watch it or allow it to happen in front of my face. However, going deep into somebody's bedroom or their finances or their choices because it's just a judgment of moral code based on something that's not really about universal principle, that's not okay. That's breaking a cosmic law right there. That's universal tampering right there. And that's a big fat no-no that a lot of people are starting to see. Whether they believe it or not is a completely different story, and most don't understand it because we think we understand universal law because, well, love is everything. So we either have to forgive everybody, which we do, for doing their thing and sticking around trying to help them figure it out, or we just go into it with, well, I go to church on Sunday, get absolved of stuff, and then I'm going to be however I want to be, or I'll just deny that any of it's true and do my own story the way that I want to. And those are all just bad representations, bad misunderstandings of what truth principle really is. If there has to be made up, fabricated something to accommodate our own understanding of truth, that's not truth. If you have to make up a story about gravity, there isn't one. There's only your experience of it. How's it work? And it's pretty much universally the same. That, oops, I was here and then I went to there because I couldn't fly. I tripped. I fell out of a building. I came down out of the sky. I jumped out of an airplane. And the only story that there is about the gravity itself, the gravity experience, is how was that for you as you were making it down with the same universal principle of gravity intact, whether you were falling out of the sky, falling, 800 feet, or if you were falling out of a building 8 stories, or if you fell down a little step 8 inches, it does not matter. The principle of gravity remains the same. It's just your story of it. However, when you start monkeying around trying to change what gravity is because of the experience you had, well, gravity's bad because... that's your lack of understanding how to not fall out of a building and splat to the ground if you're not wearing aerodynamically sound equipment to deal with that. That's a misunderstanding on your part, not gravity's. And gravity's doesn't care what color you are, who you sleep with, where you do your job, how you do your job, etc. It doesn't matter. There isn't any karma attached to it that's personal. The karma, if you will, is the misunderstanding of the law. If you deal with gravity in such a way that tells gravity that you don't understand it, gravity's not listening. It's just doing its own thing. However, the message back will be, ooh, you apparently didn't understand that. If we were going to anthropomorphize gravity and have it talk to us, it would say, human, if you don't like that splat experience, you maybe want to get a parachute for the next time, or a bat suit, or some other flying apparatus to help you get down to the ground. Or you may consider why it is you want to keep jumping out of that building and testing me, if it was going to be anthropomorphized and answering really dumb human questions. But then if you take it into the context of what universal law is not personal. Where it gets personal, that in my humble opinion, is when we bring in ancestors and ascended masters, angels, etc., that help us to humanize and understand what those laws are and how we can apply them to our lives. However, the laws themselves are not personal. I don't personally agree with people that say that God is an angry God and God is this and God is that. God is a law, as far as I'm concerned. Universal love is a law. That's the frequency of the highest vibration that the universe operates under, and that's not an anthropomorphized God experience of anything that we've ever understood on this planet. We don't have the capacity to fully embrace what all of that is, because we are humans and most of us are pretty lowly evolved. In all honesty, we couldn't possibly embrace the idea of what it is to be not polarized, because we already are. We came here to a polarized situation where up and down exists, left and right, black and white, back and front, etc. Good and bad, positive and negative, and it's in finding that balance. So the balance of dealing with gravity is, you, rather than fall down out of that building to get to the bottom, that's not the only way that you have to navigate gravity. A better way, perhaps, if you're not going to go into the engineering of a flight suit of some kind, is take the elevator. There's a better way to do things that's more in alignment with the principles of the laws that we're dealing with. And when we're talking universal stuff, we don't even understand the earth stuff and how it relates to our understanding of the solar system and all the planets and everything. Laws of physics change as you move away from earth. So if we don't really fully understand that, how do we suppose that we're going to really fully understand some energy source that is one thing, universally loving, and apply it to, well, if God cared, why would you let people suffer? That's an excellent question. Why would he? We've already genderized it and made a lot of folks angry at the he's in the bunch that have hurt us. Or if those of us that go into the Father, Mother God, we go, I can't say that because she was the one that hurt me. See how that doesn't work? We're taking a universal principle and asking gravity, why did you make me fall down but not anybody else? I make everybody fall down that doesn't use the principles well. It's not specific. You know, if it's only women going up and doing that, then they're all going to come down the same. If it was only men, if it was only transgender people, it's not personal. However, we look for those groups of things that support our story because we want to make sure that we're, you know, really finding out why and assigning it, because we really don't want to do the work. We're oftentimes very spiritually lazy, or we're just highly misinformed. And then we're too butthurt because we've been angry and hurt about being traumatized and misinformed, that we're willing to take the easiest answer. And I promise you, I haven't found yet that the easiest answer was always the best answer. Usually the most painful truths that I've come to were the ones that ripped my guts out, disemboweled me, and brought me to my knees and made me wish that I'd never asked the question. And yet I was never sorry that I did, because I have a far better understanding of how to recover from all of the misunderstood information I had up to the point that I quit misunderstanding it by, I'm going to stop asking the human faces to explain this to me. This is far bigger than you, me, them, anyone on this planet can explain to me. This is universal law. And if you're trying to tell me that gravity has some thought about what you're doing to it, with it, for it, against it, etc., you're fighting forces that you haven't any control over. All we're doing is navigating and using or going against the principles that are already here. However, we're not managing and pushing them around. We think we are. We look like we are sometimes, and when humans get involved with all their butthurt feelings, oh, that makes for some very devastating situations, and the breakdown of which you see now, because we're cosmically aligned for the Matrix to just be going through some upgrades, and all the flip phones and old flip phones, the originals, and Crackberries, and, you know, Morse code, it's no longer adapting. It's no longer, you can't even get by with old technology anymore. You know, this is all very metaphorical. I'm not talking literal stuff. That, you know, if you're not in the 5G, if you're not in an understanding of more ascended knowledge, you're probably experiencing Earth right now in a very difficult spot, possibly terribly afraid, possibly angry, possibly feeling like you don't understand things and confused. And there's a very good reason for that, because there's a lot of people that don't understand it, and living with fear is the last place to try to understand it, because it gets us going to the thing that we think will relieve our pain and our suffering and our anxiety and all of that the quickest. And it will temporarily. You know, just smoke a little of this, take a little of that, go to sleep, go over here, you know, get aggressive, let this burst of hostility out, and we get a short-term gain. However, it keeps us in the confusion loop of stupid loop, stupid loop, stupid loop, just changing the activities that we're doing. searching for the right answer in the wrong place, and if we keep choosing stupid loop activities, unless we're choosing a whole new field of information, which comes from within, in my personal opinion, it comes from within, and I haven't found any place that it doesn't come from, but starting within, and can be helped along by other people out here. I get a lot of information from other sources. However, it's started here and verified in here before I'm going to believe something out there, and I've been far happier, and keeps me out of those stupid loop conversations with myself and other people. It means severe, hacking away of old ways of life for me, and absolute denial of, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not playing that on any level, anywhere where that's going to ask me to lie to myself or someone else, even if it's perceived as mean, even if it's perceived as heartless, cruel, blah 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 blah. What's love got to do with it? Everything. And it's not loving to help somebody else bullshit me or themselves. So it's meant that I've had to say bye-bye to a whole lot and look like a very mean and hateful person. And that's okay, because I know in my heart that I'm not fighting against what gravity is. I'm not going to try to explain to somebody how to beat the odds on gravity. May the odds be ever in your favor. I'm not even going to tell you that. The odds are never in your favor when you play dumb. And when you want to play Hunger Games with universal law and natural world, that's a bad proposition right there. And karma time is more quickly returned. It's got a faster turnaround time as the veil thins out and completely leaves. Whatever your understanding is, we have a very shortened turnaround time on that stuff. Honda's eating his water bowl. The hell, that we are seeing things happen more quickly in our face, and all of those generational things, we're starting to see those fall down all around our ears. And if we're in the midst of all that, we're going to end up paying the debt for sins of our father kind of stuff. And we can still get out of some portion of it. We will have to pay whatever debt we've accumulated in this life, or however many other lifetimes we're involved in or think we're involved in or whatever. Then we will have to pay the debt. However, we do not have to be around paying with and for other people. It's a matter of separate from it, and without any emotion. It's not a matter of love. I love people passionately, and I'll never lay eyes on them again if that's what I know I need to do. That you're in the wrong understanding doing stupid loop, then I'm gonna be stupid loop with you, playing stupid, trying to explain gravity to you whenever no, I got the great idea, this is the one, this is the one, this is the one. You're not going to find the one. That answer is not here of how you're going to beat gravity. It isn't here. It doesn't exist. Not without really understanding aerodynamics and some other stuff on top of that. No. If I just go here and do it this way instead and flap harder, Okay, well that means that it looks unloving, and is still the most loving thing to do is to not let both of us be killed in that while I'm trying to save you, being all Jesus Christ and stuff. That's not what that is. That's codependency, and that's control, and me not wanting to let other people learn however they need to learn in whatever fashion it is that they choose. However, as people want to learn, the teacher and the lesson and the student, all of it, we all come together at all the right times. And I don't ever want to be so bold and so deep into my own stuff to believe that I don't have anything left to learn, that I've learned all the laws of the universe and there's nothing else, Oh no, this is an ever-evolving thing. It's like the Fibonacci spiral. It continues to spiral up and evolve and continue. And people that used to talk to me about the layers of the onion, I'm not sitting around on the same onion. We're going up. This is an onion ring. We're making an onion ring, and one long spirally one too, as we're peeling that thing completely and going up through newer and newer dimensions and ascension levels. Keep leveling up, keep perfecting the game, keep going, and if we land somewhere me anyway, if I land somewhere and think, oh, I've got it now, I learned that a while ago, that you're never going to land one place for very long in your own thinking or consciousness where you'll be sticking around. There's always more to the story. Now that doesn't mean that I sit and try to go knee deep on every single thing. My goodness, I'd never stop. I'd sit down somewhere and never leave. Getting all my stuff underneath this tree, and life does need to be led. However, when I know I'm asking a question, I get an answer. When I ask that again, if I'm led to ask that again or it comes up again, that means there's more to learn about that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be curious about it again. And if I'm seeing the same pattern returning, I might be on that onion wasting time. And screw the onion and get on into the Fibonacci spiral of, yeah, let's get out of that stupid loop, stupid loop, stupid loop. Because doing a stupid loop and getting more clear on the same spot, even 6 layers into an onion, just smells more pungent and is more ripe smelling. If I get to go this way, whenever I've come around to that spot again, it means I've understood it at a higher consciousness and keep on going, and I'm out of the onion and onto something else. So with that, Hondo looks like he's dead all of a sudden. He's just plunk, taking a little nap, and it's really time that we need to keep this moving. For some reason, I'm feeling, yeah, super inspired to get going. I think there might be weather coming in, so my spidey senses are saying it's time to move on. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Thank you very much, and take care of you. Mwah.